If you like this video, please consider supporting the Oto Kano channel over on Patreon. Thank you. Hey guys, how are you? It is Monday and yes, I am wearing another fluffy fleece. And as you can see, I'm finally out of bed and I'm still got like stuffy nose and stuff, but I am at least compass mentis, I think. And so I am spending the day in the studio for the first time in 5 days. 5 days is a really long time to be out of action in like running your own business and things. And so today I'm spending the day just catching up with things that really had to be done last week, like the Patreon rewards, which got sent out at lunchtime. So I'm really glad that that is done, because that is like the biggest job I have each month. It's the most important one that I want to make sure it's going out there as soon as it can go out. So yeah, really happy that that's gone out. And then this afternoon I'm making the dot cards for the patrons for this month, which is going to be the Primitive colors. I've chosen 8 Primitive colors and I'm going to just turn those into dot cards right now, and then hopefully I'll have time to show you guys what I've been up to in terms of drawing and stuff, and then hopefully trying to get some sketching in. It's really hard. I'm definitely feeling stressed and feeling the pressure today because of being out of action for 5 days last week, and my head is full of I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this to catch up, and I have to work twice as hard. I'm trying to remind myself that I don't have to do twice as much as I normally do. It's just I just have to keep my head straight and do the work that needs to get done, and like my life doesn't have to go out the window because I took 5 days off. So far in my new journey to drawing, I have been using this Winsor Newton fine liner in the 0.1 that I bought a couple of weeks ago, and I think I'm getting on with this very surprisingly better than any other pigment markers and fine liners that I've ever tried. So what I've done is buy a few more of the fine liners. It's actually, I think, all the pens from their range. It was a set of 5, so it comes with the 0.1 that I already have, and then the 0.3, 0.5, 0.8 and 1.0. And the first thing I did, of course, having these new pens, is to give them a go. So I just tried all of the thickness out to see. I really like the 0.1 and 0.3. As you get thicker, the pen does get a lot more scratchier, so I'm not quite sure if I'll use this 3 as much. And then I tried to draw a bird, and I don't know what happened. I was having a really off day because I was sick in bed, but the bird turned out really weird. I am giving myself the credit that I was at least in bed with a cold, so not everything is going to turn out. In terms of things that I've been drawing, you saw this one last, and then I drew this one on Friday. I had a good drawing session on Friday and got 3 done, and I really liked this because you can kind of feel the depth in the image. And then I drew this one, which I drew it as like a more illustrative style, so it was less sketchy and more just putting the lines down properly. And I don't know what you think, but I feel like this is kind of lacking in some sort of character, whereas I really liked how this one turned out. I think this one feels more alive, and so I think I'm going to be going back and forth a lot on this kind of style I want to be doing for my drawing. And then I drew this one as well, which was a little house with big eaves, which is awesome. And then on Sunday I drew this one, and again this was more illustrative, and I feel like it's lacking in character. I think maybe if I put some color onto it then it won't look so bare, but I'm definitely not enjoying this kind of just purely illustrative style. Back in my larger sketchbook on Sunday, I was ill again and I was in bed, so I had time to watch some of Liz Steele's lessons in the urban sketching course, and she had lots of stuff that was really useful. One of the things she does a lot is draw teacups because it's really complex, and so I gave that a go, and I really didn't like how this turned out. But the way she draws in her sketchbook is by using a water soluble pencil to mark out like the vertical and the horizontal and some of the big shapes, and making sure that the ratios or the proportions are correct first, and then she goes and inks them. So I gave this a go. I didn't have a water soluble pencil to hand, but I did have a photocopy blue, and so I used that to mark things like the shape of this rim and the general shape of this cup and the roundness of this plate. And then I went in to ink it. And I have to say, between this and this, I think you'd agree this one is much better, which was fantastic. And I was really, really happy with the result. Hey there, it is Tuesday morning. And last night I came down with a really bad headache. I think I overdid it with work because I've been, off work for almost a week, and then I went straight into the most complicated things I do once a month, which was my Patreon orders, and then I just did lots of things that required focus, and so I'm not surprised that I ended up with a headache, so I wasn't able to do the drawing. And while I was in this, headache kind of fog thing that you go through when you have a headache, I realized that this thing of making time to create my own art is really gonna have to take some priority, as in I'm gonna have to do this first thing in the morning before I do anything else. So I'm gonna try that for this week and see how that goes in terms of work. It's going to be interesting because I have, as I said yesterday, a ton of work to do. This week is the last week that I can really make paints for my next paint release and have it dried in time. So I have a lot of pressure on that front as well, and I've got lots of reviews that I need to be making and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how, A, whether I can actually fit everything in, or will I have to give something up, and B, how I'm gonna feel about it. Like, am I just gonna get too stressed about putting the real work aside to do this art journey, or will I feel better about it? I don't know. I'm gonna have to see and try. For today, I decided to draw and paint a vintage retro clothes shop called Armstrong's in Edinburgh. You can find it on Grassmarket in Edinburgh, and it is actually the shop from which I bought my very own wedding dress from. They do have a good selection of vintage wedding dresses, but I actually went for a blue vintage, I think about 1940s cocktail dress that was like a floor length dress, and then my mother and I spent a couple of weeks converting it into a wedding dress. The shop is in a very typical Edinburgh old town kind of architecture, and of course Edinburgh, the old town where this shop is, and Newtown is actually both a World Heritage Site, and I believe it is also the largest urban area that is a World Heritage Site. I had a lot of fun drawing this. I followed Liz Steele's method of doing a little study and then doing outlines in pencil and then going in with the inking, and it's really helped to break down the process of doing the drawing in those 3 stages. I've definitely had less to worry about when I come to draw something with the pen. So I'm going to take this method on board for myself when I come to draw things like buildings and more complicated things, because you want to make the process of creating your art as easy as possible. I went a lot looser on the sketches today as well, which was really, really good fun. And then for the first time, since I am back in the studio, I can use the watercolors. So I painted and I had a lot of fun. One problem I did realize though was that I don't have any browns and neutral colors on my palette. And when it came to painting the building, which is made out of sandstone, so you need like a yellow ochre color, you can make that color from having all the brights if you know what colors to mix. Unfortunately, because I'm still in a foggy brain mode from the sinus infection thing, I couldn't remember. Instead, what I did was I grabbed my Handmade watercolor palette, which did have a Persian yellow in there, which was the perfect warm yellow ochre color. So I used that for the building, and that made me realize for things like urban sketching, actually the neutral colors are really handy to have, which then made me decide to create a batch of the Persian yellow available for my next launch of my handmade watercolors. Hey there, it is now Thursday. Yesterday, Wednesday, was a little bit of a wipeout. I woke up and I just could not get out of bed, which is something that does happen if you're a spoonie or you are dealing with mental health issues, or if you just kind of recovered from a cold even. So I took yesterday easy, even though that was really frustrating for me to take yet another day off. I realized that there's nothing else I could do. I am now back in the studio again, and right now I'm going through this phase of being frustrated with the slow progress. When you are doing an art practice and you're trying to get better at it, but you don't have all day to devote to it, you only have like half an hour here, an hour there at most each day, the progress you make is quite small. You do one painting or you learn one technique, but you don't even get to fully explore that technique, or you just get to sit and watch one class or one part of a class, and that's it. And I'm feeling frustrated that I'm not improving in leaps and bounds like you would if you went to a art school and this is all you did all day, every day. Now, past me would have got really frustrated at that, but I am trying to learn to accept that, yes, slow progress is part of the learning to do a new skill while you've got a full-time job. Of course, you guys know that I don't have that much patience. It's a really hard thing because I just want to get better. And I feel like I'm putting as much effort in as I can possibly afford, which feels like everything. But then I have to be realistic of the fact that that's because I'm doing it on top of a full-time job. I'm not actually doing the learning full-time. If that makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense. And the other thing I'm going through right now is the shoots. Because my brain is so frustrated with how slow I'm progressing, it thinks it's gonna really help me if it looks forward to the future and starts throwing me things that I should be learning. Like I should be learning to draw faces, I should be able to draw bodies. Whenever I go through Instagram and stuff and I see people drawing beautiful faces and beautiful like intertwined bodies and stuff, I think, wow, I should learn to do that. And I'm like, no, I don't. I do not need to learn to do that. Certainly not right now, because I'm doing the urban sketching thing for now so that I get comfortable in drawing and observing. But also, I've been there already with the faces and the bodies. Well, certainly with the faces, I've tried learning it. I took a week course and I'm competent at it, but I really struggled with it as well. For me, it feels wrong in my body and my energy when I set out to do anything that required that much detailed drawing. I feel very drained afterwards, whereas when I'm doing the right thing, you know, I can do it for like 2-3 hours without feeling drained. And that is definitely a battle that I've been having ever since I became an artist, of this shoulds. Like, if I'm an artist, I should be able to draw really well, and I should be able to draw faces, and I should be able to draw bodies, and I should be able to paint landscapes and abstract and do photorealism and like illustrative stuff and everything else. It's a lot to take on, and you don't have to. I just need to be good at one thing, not everything. I don't know if you guys go through this, but like, you know that you're good at one thing, but your mind gets busy at all the other things that you're not good at and telling you you should be good at them or doing something about it so you become decent at it, rather than maximizing and leveraging on what you are good at. I don't have an answer for you guys on how to battle that, apart from just being aware that that is what you are going through, rather than that being the truth. And just keep checking in with yourself about, is what I'm trying to learn for myself right now the right thing for me, or is this a should? That's today's drawing. I drew John Knox's house on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. It is a very unique house that has many layers and many different styles of architecture, so it was definitely fun to draw. For this piece, I actually painted all with my own handmade watercolors. A lot of them are still prototype, so I used Persian yellow for the brickwork, which will be available. The red was a mixture of the chrome yellow orange with Napsol red, and then I used Verona green for the greenish colors. And then I used Venetian red with ultramarine for the browner part, and the ultramarine to neutralize some of the Persian yellow. It was great fun. The Google Street View doesn't actually give you like a flat straight on view. It's from down here and upwards and distorted. So I did a new thing of finding other photos from other angles just to work out the proportions, and then basically make it up as I go along. And I had a lot of fun doing that. I had a lot of fear in doing that, and it won't look right, but now that I've had a go at it, it's actually a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this week's vlog. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!